Good afternoon, everyone. It's a little after 12, and I want to make sure we save enough time for us to get through the material and save time for questions. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is David Slayton. I'm the Executive Officer and Clerk of Court for the Los Angeles Superior Court. Thank you for joining us today as we talk about the new LA Court Connect 3.0 remote hearings platform and changes that have been made to hopefully make it more stable, simple, and sustainable for all of you and for the court. I'll be going through a lot of material with you today, walking you through how to use the new platform. But I want to make sure you know that this isn't a webinar format, so I can't see you or hear you, but you can submit questions to me through the Q&A feature, that is at the top of your screen. So I will save time at the end of the presentation for those questions. So at any point during the presentation that you have those questions, please do put them in the Q&A box, and I will try to reach them, as many of them as I can, before the end of the webinar. So with that, we're going to get started. Obviously, this training is it's being recorded, so we will make it available, but we're also focusing today on the presentation from the perspective of attorneys and legal staff members for attorneys. So let me give you a little bit of an overview of a couple of things that are important about the new LA Court Connect 3.0 update and what we've done with it. The first and perhaps largest change from what you're used to if you've been appearing remotely in the LA Court through LA Court Connect 1.0 or 2.0 is that in 3.0 there's no longer a requirement for pre-registration. In fact, it's the opposite, which is you have on-demand remote hearings. So basically, at any point in time that an attorney is interested in joining a remote hearing or even a party to the case, they can join at any point in time. So even if you're planning on coming to court and you get caught up in traffic and need to pull over, quite frankly, you could join even at the last minute. As long as the hearing is not concluded, then obviously you could join in that hearing remotely. So no need for pre-registration in these hearings. You can join up to, quite frankly, the last minute in there. We obviously encourage you to join earlier, but bottom line is you can join at any point in time. A second big change is that we are going to be using a common platform. You all are on Teams today, so you obviously are aware of Teams and how to use it. That is the platform that you will be using. So when you're in a remote hearing, you will actually be on a Teams platform. So something that probably many of you are used to using on a daily basis in your various meetings. The third thing is that we're providing for you, and you'll see this today, an easy check-in process for all the hearings that are scheduled on that day. And so even if you have hearings this morning or this afternoon, you can actually go ahead and check in for all of them at one point during the day, and you'll see how it is easy to access those throughout the day when you need that. And then lastly, we are working towards a single remote hearings platform. So as you know right now, probate is on LA Court Connect 3.0. Other litigation types like civil and family are on LA Court Connect 2.0, and we have a couple of our litigation types actually on a different hearing platform, WebEx, in criminal and juvenile, and we're working towards a single remote hearings platform where attorneys and litigants can have a single way of accessing the courts remotely, making that easy. So you'll see this as we're rolling it out. It will become that you have one platform no matter which litigation type you're in. So a couple other things. This is coming in a phased expansion. The court is working to phase this in over time. We began with probate. We had a pilot in probate in July, but probate went live throughout the litigation on September the 6th. So they've been on the LA Court Connect 3.0 platform for a little bit, and it's proven very successful, which is why we're now expanding to family law on November the 1st. So that is tomorrow. You will start to see family law using LA Court Connect 3.0 tomorrow and going forward. In civil, that will become the hearing platform on November the 15th, so 2 weeks from tomorrow. And then 3 weeks from tomorrow, the final litigation type that's currently scheduled in the phase-in approach, traffic, will begin using the hearing platform. So over the next couple of weeks, if you practice in multiple litigation types, you'll see this phasing in over time. During the, I'm going to be obviously working to discuss with you the features of LA Court Connect 3.0 today. If you are using the remote hearings platform in one of the other litigation topics between now and the time that they go into the new platform, obviously the things I'm showing you today will not apply. It will be the things you're used to actually before today. So really everything I'm showing you today is in relation to 3.0. So a couple of things that are important to note is that 3.0, LACC 3.0, again, does not require pre-registration. It's same-day check-in. So you basically join at any point during the day on the day of the hearing. I'm going to share for you at the end of this presentation a quick link to the same-day check-in page so that you could just go straight to that. But in case you don't have it or you forget it, I'm also going to walk you through in just a second how to get from the LA Court homepage, lacourt.org, to the same-day check-in page. During the phased rollouts, again, the process for entry will be a little bit different based upon whether or not you're using a litigation that's on the older platform, LA Court Connect 2.0, and those on LA Court Connect 3.0. So again, if it's before, say, November the 15th and civil, you're going to use the old way of doing it that you're using today. And then if it's on family next week, you'll be using this new way. So there'll be a little bit of a transition if you're in multiple litigation types. And again, everything I'm going to be showing you today is focused on the new platform. So let me show you how to get to the new platform from the LA Court Connect 3.0 page, how you get to that. You're going to go to lacourt.org. You're going to scroll down to the LACC LA Court Connect logo that's on the left-hand side in yellow. Once you get to that page, you're going to scroll down to the litigation type that you are wishing to appear in that day. In this case, we're going to use probate. Once you get to this page, you're going to answer any gating questions that are there, like this one, and then it will take you straight to the LA Court Connect same-day check-in page. Please note that the gating questions are likely to change over the next couple of weeks, so I'll just give you an example. The one you just saw in probate, there's a gating question that asks if you're appearing in certain courtrooms, because one of our courtrooms in probate does family as well, so they are currently not on 3.0. But eventually those gating questions will go away altogether, so that when you click, for instance, probate next week, that it would just take you straight to this page. So you may or may not have these, what we call gating questions at the beginning, but bottom line is you'll eventually get to this page, which is the same day check-in page. I'll move on to the next screen, which is to show you how you will actually check into hearings. So once you're on that same day check-in page, there are 3 ways to check in for a hearing. The first is a case number. Second way is through a calendar search, and the third way is through a name search. Here I'm going to start with the case number search, which is the default whenever you open the LA Court Connect same day check-in page. It'll default to the case number search, and I'm going to start with that. Please note with all of these, again, it is same day check-in. So the only hearings that are going to show up when you do these searches are hearings that are scheduled that day. And it will only be the hearings that are in the litigation types that are live on 3.0. So if you come in here and you somehow try to search for a civil case before November 15th, it's not going to show up here because those are not live. So basically, once the litigation type that you're wanting to appear in is live, the cases will be there for that day. So let me walk you through how you would get to the case number search feature. So again, the same day check-in is the default method that you're going to see. On the case number search page, please just enter the case number that you have that you're wanting to appear in that day and click search once you get that entered. You're going to scroll down and verify the case is the one in which you want to appear, and you will click select. The system will then query the case management system and pull the names that are associated with the case, including any attorneys of record and parties. And so you'll see those listed there. Really important, you'll need to enter the email address of the attorney or person that's appearing. I'll speak to this in a little bit more about why this is important. And then you will scroll down and you will select the party that you're appearing for. On this one, you'll see it's a trust. When you enter that, it's going to ask you, the attorney record's not listed there, so you're going to enter your name, the attorney, and your role in the case, in this instance, an attorney. If Richard David Rover would have been already associated with the trust, he would have been listed there, but because he wasn't, that was entered on there. Once you get that done, you will click Check In. The system then queries the case management system to pull in all the matters that are scheduled in that case for the day, and it will provide you a link to join, as you saw, and you'll see this more in a second. In this instance, I'm going to go on and try to check in for another case that day, so you can see you can do multiple cases from there. And this one, I'm going to search for a case number again, and I'm going to pull that up, and we'll see the information again populate from the case management system. When I scroll down and look at this, I don't see my name listed there after I select the case. Sorry, got a little ahead of myself. If I scroll down, I will see my email address is already there. I don't see my name or even the party that I'm representing in this case here. And so I'm going to select Other. And when I select Other, it's going to ask me to enter my name and my role. So in this instance, it would be an attorney and the party on behalf of whom I am appearing. So again, the party's not listed there. So I'm sort of an other. I want to attend this hearing, and I'm going to enter my name again and the role. Once I then go down to the bottom of this screen, I'm going to click Check In again. And it's going to take me back to the page showing all of the hearings for which I've checked in, and it will provide links to join the hearings directly. You will notice you can sort the list by any of the column headers across the top. So if you want to sort that you have a bunch of hearings, you can do that. And you can also come back to the My Checked In Hearings at any time by clicking on the My Checked In Hearings link, entering the email address that you use to check in. I'll go over this again in a little bit. And then clicking submit, and you'll see it will pull up a list of all the hearings for which that email address has checked in. This feature is really meant to allow attorneys or their staff to check in for all the hearings at the beginning of the day, and for the attorneys or staff to quickly access the hearings later in the day. You see here that there are links to join all of the hearings from that checked in page. Let me move on to the next way to check in, which is the calendar search feature. You'll see it's listed as the second choice. So if you click on calendar search feature, you will get to the ability to search by the calendar. And let me walk you through how that works. Again, navigate to the same day check-in system, click on calendar search, and you're going to choose the courthouse that you're wanting to appear in. So in this instance, it's going to be the Pasadena courthouse. And then you're going to choose the department. In this instance, I'm going to be appearing in Department S. Then I'm going to click search. It's going to query the case management system and find all the matters scheduled in Department S on that day. I'll scroll down and find the matter in which I want to appear and click select. And then from there, the process is very similar. It's going to ask me to enter my email address. In this case, I'm actually appearing as if I am the petitioner in this case. So I'm going to select I'm the petitioner and I'll click check in. And then you see it allows me to join directly from there or to check in for another hearing. That's the way you do calendar search and check in on those. The third way in which you can do it is through a name search, and you can also search. You can search for a party name. You can search for an organization name if the party is an organization, or perhaps most important for this crowd, you can search by an attorney's name. And I will encourage you to do that, and you'll see why in a little bit. So let me show you how that works. Basically, you will navigate to the same day check-in system. You will click name search. You will then enter the name of the party or the attorney. In this instance, I'm going to put the name of an attorney, and then I will click search. It will query the case management system for all cases where that is the party or the attorney for the day. I'll find the case I want and click select. You'll see it pulls up that there are multiple hearings scheduled at the same time for that case, and so I can check in for both of those hearings at the same time. From there, I will then go to the part of the system where I can identify myself. You'll see Brian Jacob Ramsey is listed, and that's who I was checking in as. So yeah, I can select my name, and then I will select which party I'm appearing on behalf of. When I scroll down and click check in, it will take me to the next page. where I can then join the meeting. You'll see I can join straight from there. When I do that, it will allow me to either open it up in the application, Microsoft application itself, or use a browser. The system will sometimes ask me whether or not I want to allow my computer to use my microphone or cameras, so you can be seen and heard. Then Teams will ask you to confirm your name. This is really important because it's the name that the JA will see, so please verify it's correct, and then you will click Join Now. That name will default to that same name next time, so hopefully you won't have to do that over and over again unless someone else uses that device. And then once that you're in this place, then the GA will admit you to the hearing at the appropriate time. I'll show that again, so you'll see it again in a few minutes. The next thing I want to point out to you is it's possible to check in for all the hearings where the attorney is listed in the case management system as the attorney of record. And this is a really helpful tool if you have attorneys that are appearing in multiple cases on that same day without having to do each one at a time. The system will actually automatically query the case management systems to see whether or not that attorney of record has multiple hearings scheduled that day. So let me show you how that works. So I'll start off by navigating to the same day check-in page, and I'm going to start by checking for a specific case number. You could do it through an attorney name or otherwise, but I'm going to start with a case number as if I was just checking in for one case. What it's going to do when I search is it's going to obviously find that case number, and it's going to then once I select the case, you can see it shows I have multiple hearings in that case number today. I can check in for all of those hearings at once. Then I'm going to enter my email address, just like I've done before. Then I will select my name as the attorney, and you'll see that, and then the party on whose behalf I am appearing. And then once I click check in, this is where the magic happens. It's going to find a case where I'm the attorney of record where I've not checked in, and you'll see that listed there. So what I can do is I can go and check the box beside that hearing. I can then go and use the drop down to select the party on whose behalf I'm appearing, and then I can click at the bottom continue. And now I've checked in for all the hearings that are scheduled for that day in any courthouse where I am, where it's on calendar, where I'm the attorney of record. So then you can just go and join any of those hearings at any point in time. Let me move on to the next feature, which is, again, something really important. We felt it was really important to allow attorneys to be able to find all of the hearings for which they have been checked in. Perhaps this is because the attorney themselves have checked themselves in for all the hearings, or if staff have checked them in for all of the hearings and used an email address, and that email address that you use is up to you. But if you use an email address, it allows you to basically, the attorney to use that same email address and pull up all of the hearings for which they have been checked in. It's a useful feature because it may be that staff or attorneys want to do that all at the beginning of one day, so it's everything's listed for there, and they can just join the hearings from that page. It's also helpful if an attorney needs to hop between departments. So as you see on the screen here, there are 3 hearings in 3 separate courthouses and departments for that day, and they're all scheduled at the exact same time. So basically an attorney could join the Torrance department by clicking the first meeting. Let's say they go in and realize something else is going on and they have time to jump into another hearing. They can use this page to jump back and forth between those hearings. Let me show you how to do this. This is quite simple once you're checked in. So again, in this example, you've already checked in for you've done those individual check-ins, or you've done if it's the attorney of record, you've checked in for all the hearings for that attorney for the day. So you navigate to the same day check-in page. If you click on My Checked In Hearings, you see that on the left-hand bar. And then from there, you're going to enter the email address that you used to check in, and then click Submit. It will then pull up a list of all of the checked in hearings for that day. So again, if you do that at the beginning of the day and you check in, all the hearings that you've checked in will be listed here, and you can join any of those at any point in time. I'm gonna go a full run through from beginning to end so you can see this all in action. It's been pieced together a little bit here, but let me run through that. The first thing you're gonna do is navigate to lacourt.org. If you want to go from the homepage, again, I'm going to give you a direct link in a minute. But in case you forget the direct link, you'll go to lacourt.org. You will scroll down to the LA Court Connect icon, the yellow one on the left. Click there. Then you're going to scroll down to your litigation type. In this instance, we will use probate again. Click it. You'll answer any gating questions that appear. Then you can search for the matter using the case number, the calendar, or the name search features. Is this when you haven't checked in for any cases for the day? Or for the case that you want to appear in? You click search, it pulls up the matters that are scheduled for the day in that case. You then select that case that you want to appear in. Then you scroll down and you enter the email address that you want to use for the check-in process. So the attorney's email address. Then if the attorney is listed there, you select the attorney's name and the party on whose behalf the attorney is appearing, and you click check-in. From there, you can go directly and join the hearing. You can either open up the app itself or you could continue on a browser. Once you do that, you want to verify that the name that is listed there is the name you want the JA and the judge to see on Teams. Then you click Join Now. From there, the JA will see that you have checked in and you're in the waiting room, and the JA will admit you at the appropriate time. So that is the full process. I do want to point out something that showed up. I should have pointed this out as I went through, so I'm going to go back just a little bit. You will see on the screen there's a little orange triangle with an exclamation point in it. This icon indicates the hearing has moved. So perhaps it was scheduled in Stanley Moss Department 4 and it got moved to 7. So it basically is just a warning. So I just point that out in case you see that. Obviously that won't happen all the time, but it might happen from time to time. Let me, a couple of other things just so you know. There are multiple resources that are available to you, and they were linked in the notice to attorneys that was distributed. They are also included on the same-day check-in landing page that I've been showing you. These include things such as a reference guide, a video tutorial of the functions, and technical specifications on how to use the system. And as promised, this is a direct link to the same-day check-in page, which I'd recommend you bookmark and use on the day of the hearings, and it is lacc.lacourt.org. So again, lacc.lacourt.org will take you straight to the same-day check-in page versus having to navigate from the home page. But either way, you can get to the same place. So with that, I am happy to answer questions. So I will turn to the questions that have been submitted and see if I can answer those. Okay. Do clients, parties need to have an active LA Court Connect account or use the same day check-in format, or can anyone just go to the website and check in? Great question. I should have mentioned that. There's no longer, in the past, you've needed a court ID to be able to use the remote hearings platform, and you no longer have to have that court ID. So anyone who is a party to the case or an attorney can join without having a court ID. So you do not have to have a LA Court Connect account to do that. So just go to the website. You could tell parties to do the same thing that I just went through for you. They would have to list, check their name that's shown whenever they pull up that system. Great question. Will we be able to schedule appearances for future hearings, or is this just day of hearings? There's no longer a need for scheduling appearances for future hearings, so the pre-registration requirement goes away when the new system goes into effect. So tomorrow, those of you that are in family will know that you've not been able to schedule appearances for November 1st forward. Because we did away with it. So basically, the same thing will happen with all the other litigation types. I think actually today is probably the last date to schedule in civil. And then after that, any of those hearings beyond 15 days, you just join. After that, you just join that same day. So there's no need to pre-schedule. So the attorneys and litigants have flexibility to do that all the way up till the hearing begins. question. Will one be able to enter the case number for confidential cases, paternity actions before 2022, and masked unlawful detainer actions? I should know the answer to that question, but I don't off the top of my head. I think that there is an ability to do that, but there is some masking that's done on the system where not everything is provided. So we will get that information and get it out to you. Apologies that I can't answer that here today. Will we be able to call in, and how do we access a number? If you noticed when there was when you saw the list of cases and you saw the join buttons, just to the right of that there was an icon of a telephone, and that if you were to click on that or hover over it, it will actually give you the number and the PIN code to use to call in. So that is how you can call in. So that's right there on that screen. But otherwise, you can click the join now. That would be by audio and or video, but there is the phone feature that's right there to the right of the join button. These are great questions. Guessing that attorney name search is not available for limited scope representation. Great question. The way that the attorney names are being pulled is it's when it is associated with the case in the case management system. So if the attorney is listed as the attorney of record or has made an appearance in the case, they will show up in that list of attorneys. If not, they will have to be manually entered. As I showed you, there are, you know, for instance, if you select you're appearing on behalf of someone and you're not listed, you would click the other and then enter your name as an attorney and your role, and then it would ask you which party you're appearing on behalf of. So you would sort of manually enter that. But if you're in the case associated with the case, you will see the attorney's name populate automatically from the case management system. Can I send a handout or slides? Yes, we'll make sure to distribute these as well as we'll have a recording of this as well that we'll distribute. Again, I would urge you to go to the same day check-in page, that lacc.lacourt.org link. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the quick reference guide. You'll see a video tutorial. You'll see technical specifications. All those will remain there. It's probably an even more in-depth understanding of this, but we'll make sure to get you the slides. I'm not sure how helpful the slides will be without the videos, but happy to share those. Someone else asked about masking. I think I've answered that. If you have multiple items on calendar at the same time, how does the judicial assistant know where you are or which hearing you've been called into? So judicial assistants won't know exactly where you are. It's sort of like the in-person world. You will probably, they will know that you've checked in. And they will know that you're planning to appear remotely. They won't know exactly where you are. So you saw earlier an example where there were 3 hearings scheduled at 8:30 in 3 different courthouses. Obviously in the sort of in-person world, if you had 3 hearings scheduled at the same time, you might be in one of those 3 courtrooms, and the judicial assistants will know that you've checked in but you've not appeared. So they will assume that you will be in another courtroom. So, you know, my suggestion to you is to try to, you can pop into the hearing and let the JA know that you're there. If you have to leave, you could maybe come back. But bottom line is that's how they will know that you've checked in, because as soon as you check in, they will get a report showing that you have checked in for that hearing. How do you check out of one hearing and go to another hearing on the same day? So the way that you would do this is to go to that My Checked In Hearings page would be my suggestion to you. And then you would click join, and then Teams would basically transfer you from one hearing to another, and you could just basically pop back and forth using that join button from the My Checked In Hearings page. Someone says, I have a technical question regarding Microsoft Teams. What will be used and or required to connect to the Teams interface? Great question. My advice to you is to use the technical specifications document that is listed on the My Checked In or Same Day Check-In page, because it has all of that on there. I'll give you what I know, just basic, which is If you have the Teams application already that you use, when you click join, it will pop up and ask if you want to join using that application, which probably will have the most rich features for you. If you don't have that or don't have access to it at the time, you can join via a browser, and it's basically just going to open it up in a website, and you can join that way. There's no special requirements for that, but definitely I would encourage you to use the technical specifications document, and you'll also see on there a way to ask questions. So if you're having issues, you can certainly use the questions place, or you can call the help desk, which has been available for assisting with remote hearings for some time. Which browser is recommended for using the platform, if any? We don't have a specific recommendation, so I think Teams is pretty functional on most modern browsers. So I sort of stress modern there because there are probably multiples that could be used. If you're using a really old browser system, which probably most of you aren't at this point, pretty much any website that any browser that runs normal websites should run the Teams browser as well. Does the information entered during the check-in process persist in the Teams meeting? So I'm not sure I fully understand the question. I'll try to answer what I think it is, which is that when you do the check-in process, that information is passed to the judicial assistant, who has that information, can provide it also to the judge as part of the hearing. So, John Smith is appearing on behalf of Janie Doe, and that information is made available. The email address is made available. That type of information is made available to the JA. It won't stay in Teams per se, but it will whenever you actually enter the courtroom, it will. Your name is basically what gets passed on to in the team system. So again, it's important to make sure your name is right whenever you enter the courtroom. That's who the JA and the judge will be looking for. If it says iPad 8 on the name when you go in, the JA and judge are going to have a hard time knowing who you are. So certainly recommend that you verify that name. That's what gets passed along in the team system. And as far as the name, it should, unless someone else changes the name, next time you go into the Teams environment for checking into a hearing, it should have that same name defaulted there. Again, if you have multiple individuals using that device, the laptop or computer, you'll want to check that because it may be that someone changes it for another meeting. Will court staff be able to see if we're checked in on multiple cases? Yes, I believe they do see that on their side. So they will have an idea that, for instance, if you're in another courtroom, they'll know you could be in another one of those hearings. Is same-day check-in available for pro per defendants? The answer is yes. Anyone is permitted to use this system and to appear remotely. Same-day check-in appearing up until the innocent's last minute in the case. Can anyone log in to observe a hearing? The answer is no. The system is meant to only serve parties and attorneys in the matters, or witnesses or others that are basically permitted by court policy to join. So members of the public or media are not permitted to use this to observe hearings. They're required to still observe the hearings in person from a courtroom. Can you be joined in more than one department at the same time? Great question. You would physically, as far as in Teams, be in one meeting at the same time, but you can join multiple. You can check in for multiple hearings and pop between them, so to speak. And I think Teams will, depending on what you're using. Teams does sometimes allow you to join two meetings at the same time. One of them is just put on hold while you're in the other one. It will depend on whether or not you're using the application or the browser. But bottom line is you wouldn't be able to obviously be on screen on multiple on screen and audio on multiple hearings at the same time, but you can basically pop between the hearings. Someone says, just to confirm, the court will no longer be using the Unicorn court product. That is correct. As the disciplines move from say family law tomorrow, we'll no longer use the Tech Unicorn product. I think the UDC, I think, is what you all have seen it used as. That platform will not be used going forward. So family law, again, starting tomorrow, civil November 15th, traffic November 22nd, probate has already moved. So those are all the disciplines currently using the Unicorn Court product. Will it be possible to get the link in advance for the attorney? No, as far as in advance, well, let me suggest this. It is depending. It doesn't look like what you're used to seeing because obviously with same day check-in, you're just basically joining the meeting directly. The way to get the link in advance for the attorney is to go in. Let's say there's hearing scheduled 8:30. Go in at 8 o'clock. Check in for all the meetings for today, and then if the attorney has the link to the my checked-in hearings. If they go to lacc.lacourt.org and they click on my checked-in hearings, enter their email address that where they were used to check in, they will have a link to all of the hearings for that day that they've been checked in for. So that is available to them there. Someone says, can you provide the website again? I probably said it again, but I'll say it here. lacc.lacourt.org is the direct link to the same day check-in site, lacc.lacourt.org. Someone asked again about observing without being associated with a party. The answer is no. With a case search, will confidential paternity cases appear? So again, I think the cases will appear. I think there's masking happening. Again, we'll try to get you the answer to that. I should have had that answer, but I don't. Someone says, come 11/15, not November 15th, will LACC apply to all civil departments, including complex? The answer is yes. So all civil goes 11/15, all family 11/1, all traffic 11/22, and again, probate has already transitioned. Should the attorney still sign into their account when checking in, or is that no longer needed? I'm not sure if their accounts have been deactivated. So the court ID is used for multiple systems. So, the court ID will still be available for those other systems, but attorneys will not need to sign in when checking in. There's no longer a need for the court ID. Basically, it's just go to the My Checked In Hearings page and then type in the email address that was used to check in, and then it'll pull up all of the cases that have been checked in for that day. If the platform is not functioning properly and we're unable to check in, how should we proceed? You should proceed. Hopefully that is not an issue. We're really working to make sure this is a stable platform. But if it's not functioning properly, then you should see what the court's information to you is. Most likely, if there was a systematic issue, we would put that out on some of our social media pages as quickly as we could, along with some notices to attorneys. But obviously, if it's just a single courtroom, you can call the help desk, which is a way that they can try to troubleshoot if it's just an issue you're having, or they can give you information about that. And then lastly, and I would certainly say this is the last option because it's not always not always something that JAs can do. You can call the courtroom to let them know, but that should again be the last option because they're likely not going to be able to handle everyone's calls if that were to happen. If you are late, are you still able to join a hearing? The answer is yes. You could technically join your hearing after the hearing is over because it would be a hearing that's scheduled today. Obviously, if you're late or you join after a hearing, you'll need to discuss with the judge how to handle that. But bottom line is there's nothing that prohibits you from joining at any point in the system. You can join that hearing at any point. It doesn't disappear once the hearing is over. It's still listed there as a hearing for today. For a witness, do we just have them check in as other and add their name? Yes, that is correct. You would have them check as other. They would put their name, and then their role would be witness. So that would be how you would go about that. For those who are technically challenged, how else can they attend a hearing? Obviously, someone can attend a hearing in person at any time. The court provides this as an option for people to appear remotely. And obviously, lots of people take advantage of that, but the court is always available in person, so parties can choose to attend in person if they would prefer that. And hopefully people who might have found the other platform to be more difficult, this is a little more, again, straightforward and simple. That was the goal, to make it to where it's easy as possible for people to join remotely. Does this mean that reminder emails are going away since we're not registering early? Yes, no reminder emails with regard to hearings that you registered for because you won't be registered for them. Just join the day of. For court reporters to appear for a certain matter, can they appear by selecting other? This is a tricky question. Technically, court reporters cannot appear remotely. I know that that is happening in certain matters, and specifically unlimited civil cases. If a court reporter were to be permitted to appear remotely, they would select other, type their name, and their role would be court reporter. Going back to having multiple hearings and joining multiple hearings, you will not lose access if you leave to go from one to the other. Correct. That is correct. Once you've checked in for multiple hearings, you just go back to that My Checked In Hearings page and pop back and forth between them by clicking join. You wouldn't be, if you joined and then you left, you wouldn't be locked out from going back. You would just click that same join button that you had used the first time to go back and join that meeting again. Any improvement from version 2 to the witness waiting room? Obviously, this is very different than the previous versions of LA Court Connect. The key here, if a witness were in the waiting room, you might have seen whenever I was showing you the demonstration that there is it says, basically that someone will admit you soon. It would look something like that if someone was not admitted. So I'm assuming a judicial assistant, if they knew a witness were appearing remotely, would not admit them, and so they would sit in the waiting room until and wait until someone admits you status until they were actually admitted. Is there a way to monitor the different departments at the same time? Great question. Someone's thinking a little bit ahead of us on this. We are working on this, and we expect in the next couple of weeks to roll out an enhancement that will allow you to monitor different departments at the same time. So stay tuned. At this moment today, the way you would do that would be to join the multiple departments, sort of popping in and listening. But you can, if you pop in, you can listen, assuming the JA admits you, which I assume would happen if you're registered. You could pop in and hear, if the judge is on another case, and then you could pop out. So that is the current functionality. Soon we'll give you the ability to sort of be observing them without joining the hearing. So again, stay tuned. We'll give you an update in a couple of weeks on that. We're pretty close, but it's a few weeks away. How early before the hearing can you check in? So you can check in on the day of, which starts at 12 o'clock a.m. So pretty much any time of the day of, you can check in. Going back to the question about joining multiple hearings at the same time, would it be possible to join multiple hearings over multiple devices? The answer is yes. You could, if you have teams on multiple devices, you could check in for those 3. You could join one from your phone, one from your computer, and one from your laptop. That's not a problem from our perspective. Just make sure you mute. So you're not on all of them, which is a good point. Actually, a good point. A best practice tip here, not required, but obviously when you're in a Teams meeting, if you're not up for the hearing that is going on, we would advise you, first of all, to stay muted, so there's not background noise. But also, we would advise you to turn off your camera until it's time for your hearing. That way, only the parties that are appearing in that matter are on camera for the judge to see. So, just a best practice tip there. Are we able to check in for multiple parties at one time for a particular hearing? The answer is no. You would have to do that multiple times. And the reason why is because, again, email addresses are associated with those folks. So if you were checking in, let's say you had a family of 3 people that were parties who all wanted to appear remotely separately, you would check in for, let's say, mom and dad and brother would have to be checked in 3 separate times because of the fact that it's associated with their email address. So good question. How can we rewatch this webinar? We're recording this, so we'll send it out to you so you can take a look at it. Can we still pre-register if we want to? No, there's no pre-registration anymore. It's gone. Once the litigation switches over to 3.0, there's no pre-registration allowed. If we're appearing for an attorney of record, do we check in for that attorney or the party? Great question. My suggestion to you, and this is getting dangerous when I'm making suggestions to you on this, but my suggestion to you would be to check in as your name and then for that party. Because otherwise it will be confusing to the judicial assistant because they're going to see that John Smith is appearing for the party, and whenever you're actually in the courtroom, they're not going to see John Smith. So my suggestion to you is to click other there type in your name and then tell that you're appearing on behalf of that party. And then when you make your announcements, you can then announce to the judge and the court that you are appearing on behalf of the other attorney. Anything we need to know about the court being closed tomorrow? That's a good question. Obviously, the court is closing. The court is not closed tomorrow, but we are not able to open the Spring Street, Fultz, and Mosque courthouses because of the Dodgers victory parade, which will be all around our 3 courthouses, and you would be unable to access the courthouses. Archives and Hall of Records are also not going to be accessible. So these 3 courthouses will not be accessible, and all the matters that are scheduled here are being moved. If you have questions about that, please check on your case status. Someone asked, can we log in to simply be a spectator? The answer is no, that's not permitted with court policy. So you would not be admitted. Does a 30-minute prior to hearing rule still apply for check-in? The answer is no. You can join at any point in time, even up to the minute the hearing starts. And as someone asked earlier, you could technically join in the middle of a hearing or after a hearing, but the judge would be able to discuss with you how to handle that matter. But there's no requirement to check in at any point in time prior to the hearing. That is the last question I have on the list. I will pause for a second to see if there are any others. But I appreciate you all joining us today. Hopefully you'll find this platform to be stable and simple, and it will be sustainable. And as you already heard, we are continuing to work on improvements. So if you have ideas or thoughts on that, please do share them with us. And if you have technical issues, of course, hopefully the documentation that's on the day of check-in, same day check-in page will help you with that. But if not, please feel free to reach out to our help desk. And with that, I don't see any further questions. So thank you all. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us today.